Do you feel you're taken advantage of?
A little bit, maybe. I suppose you could call him the Scottish equivalent of George Best.
Yes.
And you got 125 of us walking around London to stadiums. People are coming out of bars, clapping. People are bibbing their horns. We went down the embankment. All the people having their Sunday lunch come out and they were applauding.
Wow.
It's a fantastic feeling.
Good feeling.
It wasn't until the third day that I had the best hand roll ever. And my wife done me one hand roll, and I said, "That is the best hand roll I've had in my life. Can I have another one?"
Fantastic.
Welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to another Ultimate 11 Poaches cast. We're back, second part of Talk with Gary. Obviously introducing Gary again. The first part, show some highlights of that. And we spoke mainly about your early years in the committee.
Berkshire League, yeah.
And such like from there onwards. Gary, what I'd like to talk to you about now is I've been a man who's involved with football 40 years, who's had many hats on.
Yeah, quite a few.
And one of the big ones has been, big part of your life has been Burnham.
Yeah.
Burnham FC. So how does that fit in from, and how did it all start as such?
It was basically, I went to, because I was doing the cup finals for the East Berkshire League at Burnham Football Club. We were going back many years ago, over 12 years ago, we started to use Burnham Football Club for our finals. And the present chairman there, and also the treasurer stroke secretary was Rod Saunders, and the chairman was Malcolm Higton. They approached me at one of the cup finals and they said, "Well, why don't you come on board at Burnham Football Club? We could do someone like you here to help us in any capacity that you wanted."
Okay.
So I said, I'll come on board. I've always, even though I'm a Slough boy and I used to go to Slough Town many years ago, obviously I've always kept an eye on other local sides, whether it was Burnham or Flackwell, Maidenhead. So I said, okay, I wouldn't mind, if you want some assistance, I'll come on board. So originally when I went down there, it was purely just to sit on the committee.
Yeah.
With a voice. And I then started helping around the ground, helped out on the turnstile, etc., etc. And it really grew from there. And the team started to evolve under Stoney, under Martin Stone. Around about 2010-11, started to mould the side together. And I sort of come on board and started to take an interest in coming to games and helping out, as I said, either whether it be in the bar area or in the ground or even on the turnstile.
Yeah.
Just to be an extra person.
Yeah.
Because as you know, in any capacity, whether it's grassroots or non-league, it's hard to get volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, going back to what Scott was talking about the other week, he's gone from a park team as such into a semi-professional environment and needing volunteers, and I don't think he realised how hard it would be.
Yeah.
And in fairness, he's done well to get the volunteers, but his day was quite surprising when he actually mentioned it. Starting at first thing in the morning collecting food from Booker.
It's hard. I mean, and saying that, I did mention to Malcolm. Malcolm was president, not chairman. The chairman was a guy called Bob Breen, another local man that probably everyone knows. And Bob Breen's a lovely man.
Yeah.
He's been involved with a lot of, obviously, Burnham and Slough Town. He's been advisory. I think he was at Southall last season. He was advising at Southall.
Oh, wow.
I bumped into him at a game between Burnham and Southall. Had a long chat with Bob, and Bob also came down to a game at Burnham later on that season. And we sat in the stand and had a quick chat as well. So Bob's a lovely man, and it sort of transpired that being at Burnham and being at committee meetings and stuff, etc., in the boardroom, Bob announced he was stepping down.
Okay.
And all of a sudden he proposed at the meeting myself, which was a complete shock.
I said, did you know?
No.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
So I got proposed. Which, to be honest, when it first came across to me, do you want to be chairman of Burnham Football Club? And I think Alan King was there. He actually kicked me under the table, Alan King, King.
Oh, right, really?
We know Alan King because he runs the secretary of the Allied Counties, but
Yeah.
also at Burnham at the time in a matchday secretary role. He kicked me and sort of like went like that, as if to say, "Oh, just think about it."
Mm.
I now know why he kicked me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so it went from there, and I was chuffed that I'd been asked. So I said, look, I'll have to think about it, and I'll go and speak to my wife. I had sort of made up my mind that I wanted to take it on. I then met Bob the next day at the golf club around the corner.
Oh, okay.
And we discussed things and discussed the club. And then I accepted it and it went from there. So I became chairman on the season that we got promoted to the Southern Prem. So we won Step 4, which was the Central Division, under Martin Stone.
Yeah.
And I took over as chairman at the end of that season when we won the league.
So was that like 2012?
Yeah. So it was 11-12 season where we completely romped the Step 4, which was the Central Division. I think we scored about 112 goals. Ryan Bird got about 45 goals, I think, or 47 goals. And we got about 100 points as well, I think.
Yeah.
It was a mad team.
I remember the season. I remember watching with, I think I went to a couple of games.
It was incredible. We were getting crowds about 175 to 200.
Yeah.
For a village, remember, Burnham is a village club.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's never going to be up in the 400 or 500s because it's a village club. But we were getting good crowds, 175, 200. Obviously, at that time, Burnham were always above Slough.
Yes, yeah.
And always used to beat Slough. And I think we went about 5 or 6 7 unbeaten games against Slough. And we always getting, because Slough had got great support. And I loved the Burnham Slough games, especially at the Gore, because you used to get 700, 800, 900 people there. It's great. But then it went from there, so I become chairman. I think Rob Stevens and who's the guy at the main advertiser, Daniel Darlington. They both announced it, and I had to do an interview then, and it went out on the papers that I was chairman. Little did I know what I was letting myself in for.
Because that was the high point in 2012, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It kind of went a bit downhill after that.
We went to Step 3, which was Southern Premier. Then you're in amongst the teams like your Corby Towns, then your sort of the Paul Towns, the St Albans, the Hemel Hempsteads, the Bedfords, all these teams, the Weymouths, all these teams are getting like big crowds of 1,000, 1,100, big budgets. But to be honest, the team that Stoney put together was a really best side I've seen at Burnham. Was that Stoney side they put together.
Was Ryan Bird still there then? Was he?
No, Ryan Bird was that season we lost him to Portsmouth.
That's right,
He got signed by Portsmouth. That's a story as well. That is in terms of how that sort of evolved, because we were due to put him on a contract. It never happened. Malcolm was in negotiations with Ryan, but Portsmouth come in and took him. At that time, Portsmouth didn't have a lot going for them. They had just they won the FA Cup a few years before, but they were going through a lot of money problems.
Yeah.
So part of the Ryan Bird going to Portsmouth was the fact that I negotiated a friendly match to be played at Burnham with Portsmouth, a game which they cancelled twice.
I was going to say, I don't remember it being played.
Yeah, it did get played.
It did? Oh, okay.
Third time. It got cancelled twice, and I was in conversations with their chairman and emails and etc. etc. Eventually they brought a side down on Tuesday night, and we got a crowd of about 600 there. It could have been a lot more, but Portsmouth, to my frustration, I wouldn't say annoyance, but frustration, they actually arranged a Pompey Open Day on the same day.
That's about right.
Which is really good for us, because then they did bring a good support down, but it could have been a lot more than it was. And I think they beat us 6-0.
Oh, really?
Or 6-1. And then obviously the first season in the Step 3 in the Southern Premier was a hard season. I had no idea what financial trouble. I had an idea, but not the full extent, because it hadn't been revealed to me the full financial.
Yeah, so what actually happened then? Because you kind of riding a bit the crest of the wave, took that promotion.
Yeah, there was.
Did you have to take that promotion? I mean,
Yes. Well, we didn't have to take it, but we took it. So I think we went into a division, we're punching above our weight, but Martin had a really good side.
Yeah.
And to be honest, from the August to the January, when Martin left, we were about 7th from top.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it all started to go wrong, because there were things that had been promised, as you know, with budgets and stuff like that. Things were promised, the club couldn't provide or couldn't sustain that budget.
Yeah.
I made decisions as chairman, which didn't go down very well with people, players.
Mm-hmm.
So I cut the cloth to try and get through that season, because it wasn't going to happen down. And unfortunately, we lost players. Stoney left the club, and I thought Stoney was a fantastic manager. I still do. Got a lot of respect for the guy for what he did. I understand why he stepped away. Some players left. But what do? You've got a club that's been there since 1878.
Mm.
What do you do?
You've got to cut across the
You cut it off.
Yeah.
And we stayed in the Southern Prem that season. I think we were we'd already amassed about 40 odd points, so we were pretty much safe.
Yeah.
So what we did was we then played our under 18s.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. So, obviously, just going back, you went to step 3. There were apparent funds that were going to go, the budgets.
There was things that were promised, and some of the stuff was promised before I became chairman, and I didn't know the full extent of what we had. When I first saw the budget and I first saw the things that were going on, I looked at the income and expenditure and I thought, how are we going to afford that?
Yeah.
It doesn't add up. And I spoke to Malcolm and Rod, and they said we can't do it. So I made the decision to cut the cloth, cut the budget. And
so when you say cut the cloth, obviously this is sort of the players not getting the money they were expecting.
that's right. So and I think at the time, and I'm pretty sure we had about 5 contract players.
Oh, really? Wow.
And as you know, you can't. Maybe 4 or 5. You can't take players out of contract until you can pay them off.
Yeah.
Or you have to wait till June the 30th.
Yeah.
And we really tried to make sure that those players still receive those funds. And I think it took us the following season before we managed to get some players paid off, etc., etc. Because it was hard, Darren. It was hard.
Yeah.
Put a lot of strain on people, myself. But as I started this job, I had this vision that I wanted a 3G pitch in 5 years. I wanted this, wanted that. Was I living in fairy tale land? I don't know. But I had this vision of how I wanted to see Burnham evolve. Maybe I didn't have enough people behind me, enough people to be on the same page. I'm not being disrespectful to Rod or Malcolm, but maybe they've been at the club a long time, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
I was a younger man who wanted this, wanted that. Could we do that? Could we do this? And it's hard because I wanted to see how the club would evolve, but it takes other people to come in, takes investment, takes time, takes money.
Because I'll be honest, I mean, I don't know what was going on at the time. There was obviously lots of rumours going around.
Yeah.
And the big one was obviously you sold that bit of land off to have the houses built, I think it was.
That's before my time.
And then obviously built that part of the stadium up.
Yeah, because the club was moved down the road.
That's right, yeah.
The house was built, and the stand was built.
The rumours I heard, and there were rumours, and hopefully it wasn't true, is obviously there was a bit of investment in terms of money gained out of the club and not to the right places.
I think there was a lot of money coming into the club, and the budgets were being, up until the season the league was won. There was money which was arriving and money which was being paid to the players. That stopped.
Okay.
When I took over as chairman, basically.
No, that's fair enough.
Unbeknownst to me, I didn't realise that was going to stop. I was then hit with a sustainable budget, which I had to look at what I could do.
Yeah.
You can do 2 things, Darren. You walk away, or you stick with what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Don't like walking away from things. Never have done. It was a challenge. Love a challenge. Stuck with it.
So at this point in time, you've just taken over. Your first year was good. Your second year was becoming a bit of a nightmare at first because of money scenarios.
Yes.
there's obviously, again, for things that I heard, where that you were literally dipping your hand in your own pocket.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
I don't know that much.
Much to, it was frustrating for family, because obviously I put my hand in my pocket. Shouldn't have done that really. Cost me a little bit of money. I tried to pay players off, some players off with some instalments from my own money.
Wow.
Which wasn't great, especially because I've got to live. I'm not a wealthy man. I'm a guy that's worked all his life in the motor trade.
Yeah.
Love my football, but it was a passion where, was it thick skin or how would you?
Do you feel you're taking advantage of?
A little bit maybe. I don't think there were some players that probably just wanted to be paid this, paid that. I don't think they realised what I was under. I think that things were said and there were things that happened. I tried to do my best for running the football club, and to be honest, people were getting paid. There are other things like utilities and stuff like. I tried to work it where everyone was getting a little bit here, a little bit there, so the club wasn't going to fall much greater in debt. So the main problem was there was big problems in.
Yeah.
I worked closely with mainly Rod, and I suppose Rod communicated with me more than he had done with any other chairman.
Okay.
And we tried to work how we did it. And I upset him and he upset me a few times because I wanted to be, well, that's got to be paid, that's got to be paid, that's got to be paid. We've got to do it. Sometimes things have to be paid before the players. Players don't
Of course, yeah.
whether it's a utility bill, gas bill, whatever. It's a big stadium.
It's a lovely place and a big stadium, but you do look at it, when you just mentioned there, the crowds you get.
Yeah.
They
dwindled.
Yeah.
And we were getting down to 120, sometimes less than 100. Because obviously the following season we got relegated from the step 3, which was probably a blessing because we had a young side, went through a couple of managers.
Again, managers coming in, were they fully aware? Because again, I'm hearing the rumours that I heard.
I tried to be as transparent as I possibly could without putting everything on the table.
Right.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm a transparent guy, and I try to be honest as I can. And sometimes, if you'll say, okay, you told things or you promised things, I thought there was going to be some investment in the club. It didn't. It fell through on the following season. We then tried to get the bar moving, trying to book more parties, try and get some kind of income. Byron Walton come on board. We tried to work closely and try to get things moving, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Especially with like some kind of mini recession, with what was going on with, the whole thing dropped out, didn't it? Around that time.
It's hard.
Not enough weddings, not enough parties and stuff, because they all go into the pot. Crowds dwindled. A winning team, you get people to come down. You used to get a fair few Slough Town fans to come and watch us from Slough away.
Yeah.
That started to dwindle a bit. As you're moving down, we got relegated. We had a bad season in step 4. Then eventually we got relegated to step 5. But the problem with the step 5 was that we were when we first got relegated from step 3, and you all know it's well documented that we got put into the southwest.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I had the restructure of the whole league.
And we were always in step 4 Central League. It's 14 miles from central London, and it's well documented that I was one. I did let it go. I said that we were wrongly placed in the southwest. We're going out to places like Taunton, Tiverton, Truro at the time. Buses here, coaches there. You can't sustain that.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we're talking now of your travel suddenly, if not doubled overnight.
3,125 miles to the away games that season.
So coaches, I mean, what's your budget for coaches for crying out loud? I mean,
when you go to Truro, Tiverton or Taunton, then you get a coach. You're looking at £500 for a coach, and we were fixtured 2 away games in 7 days in Taunton and Tiverton.
Right. So
2-2 and 0-0 by the way. It was both their games.
fair play.
And we only had On the second game, when we drew 2-2, I think it was 2-2, I put myself on the bench because we only had 12 people there.
Jeez.
I was in the dugout with the bench. That's it.
Okay, fair enough. That's so desperate times.
Desperate times. Not that I would have gone on. It was just a
Imagine if you did. Would you have been the oldest player in that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had to do it just to sort of give us an extra person in the dugout at that time. But you come through it, and many people have asked me, why did you stick at it? Because they were hard times.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. Well, what happened? It was hard times for you. I know that there was a lot going on in life for yourself at that time.
Yeah, because 2016 I got diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Yeah, okay.
Around the same time that Luther got involved with the club, Luther come on board.
And Luther, you mean Luther, obviously, Luther Brissett?
Yes, Luther was a great man, full of respect for him. Also had the same similar vision to myself. I went through surgery and recovery and stepped back for a few months to just to recover. And I think my wife wanted me to step back completely, but I started something. And I thought that with Luther's vision and the club, the way that someone was on the same page as myself, that it could happen. It didn't happen. There were other things going on at the club. Some documented, some we can't document. And unfortunately, Luther left after maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
And the club was in turmoil then again. And people again asked me, what are you doing? I'm just trying to hold it together.
So just put this in context here. You're running a club which is pretty much scheme.
Yep.
Possibly in debt, well, we were in debt,
Yeah.
and going backwards massively. So you had that complete.
The debt was reducing. Over the 3 year period, I'd done really well. Myself and Rod, we managed to get that down.
But that's a big strain. Well, people now, what we're going through at the moment, will know about debt management and debt and such like. You're doing it as a football club.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and then you've now become ill at the same time, and yet you still continued on.
Yeah. Oh man, no. I must be bad.
Well, you've got to question your sanity.
I do question myself. But
I remember seeing you at a match, and the weird thing about it is, I can't remember what match it was, but you were there and you were chatting away as if there's one, nothing wrong with you, two, the positivity was coming because you were still like talking about, oh, we're going to get a pitch laid in, it's going to come in this summer, and this is going to happen. And I just thought, bloody hell, Gary.
yeah, I think the thing is that I've got a very strong mind. Obviously, when you're told prostate cancer, my mindset is, right, I'll beat it.
Wow, okay.
Straight away. I remember my words to my consultant was, well, can you cut it out and throw it in the bin? That's what I said.
Really?
My wife's next to me, I said, take it out and throw it in the bin. So I then had surgery, and lucky enough, I had the surgery. It's the best thing I've ever done, because when they do the biopsy from the prostate after they removed it, then you get your proper classification. I was Gleason 7 T2, which means it's contained within the prostate. But Gleason 7 meant my options were limited. It was either chemo, radiotherapy, or surgery.
Surgery, yeah.
Right, I went for surgery to get it out. The aftermath is obviously dealing with the known facts that can happen afterwards. I dealt with all that and come back strong.
Well, hang on, you're making very little of this. You do it as if it's like it's nothing. I dealt with all that. That's a big thing.
Well, my wife.
Recovery. Well,
Yeah,
suddenly.
because I think my football stuff come into it. My wife's been my block through the whole surgery. But what I did was on day got released from London, come out after 2 days in hospital, come home, sat there in bed feeling rough, in pain, catheter.
Yeah.
Never had a catheter in my life. Don't want again either. Stitches, six incisions in my belly with a robotic metal stitches.
Yeah.
6 incisions. A little bit painful. Refused to take any painkillers because I want to deal with it myself. And that's my mindset.
Okay.
So I come off painkillers to deal with it, right? That's the way I am. Right?
Okay.
That may sound mad, but there's a method. I then sat there, got a laptop out, done a little Excel spreadsheet, and I've done myself a 4-week graph, Monday to, obviously Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week. And I've done little things like, up in the morning, how are you feeling? Marks 1 to 10. Urination, that sort of stuff. Walks, I used to do a walk to, say, from bedroom to back door for the first couple of days, back door 10 times. Front room to garden, I've done myself 5 walks, building myself up. Getting out to stage 5 was a walk to the park and back.
Okay.
Right, then I introduced walk 6 and 7, which was 20-minute walks, 25. I've done that over a 4-week period, and I built that up on an Excel spreadsheet and how I'm feeling.
That's very impressive, mate.
And I use that as my mental strength in terms of I can feel and say, I think it's a 4 out of 10. No leaks and stuff, and etc. That sort of thing. And I think when I've talked to prostate cancer, and I've given them my story as well. And a friend of mine was diagnosed with it, and we met up, and I went through what I did, and it helped him in terms of what I did in my graph and stuff in my Excel spreadsheet. So that's how I dealt with it, Darren, and that's why when I come across, was I too cocky? I don't know, but I think it's because my mindset was like.
Well, you obviously dealt with it in a positive manner.
Yeah, absolutely, and my wife is my rock, so my wife was there. The early days after coming out of hospital were very hard because I didn't feel like eating, and it wasn't until the 3rd day that I had the best hand roll ever. And my wife got me 1 hand roll, and I said, "That is the best hand roll I've had in my life. Can I have another one?"
Fantastic.
And then I went from there.
Wow. And in fairness, mate, you're making very light of a major thing that's happened to your life.
And that's how I done it. And then by going back to the club, I was back at the club 10 weeks after surgery now.
Wow.
10, is it 11 maybe?
So,
but I was in communication with emails and stuff like that.
I can imagine you would have been.
Yeah.
So obviously, this is again probably at the worst point in time of Burnham's history.
Yeah.
And you're then almost running back into it. But
Yeah,
most people have had a massive excuse to completely walk away.
Yeah, then we lost Luther, and then what was really good was around about late 2017, maybe a bit earlier, maybe summer. 3 guys coming and approached the club, Rod and Malcolm, Glenn, Naz and Adam. And I went for a meeting and I thought, these guys are just what I need.
Yes, so just explain to everyone who these guys are.
We had 3 guys come in, spoke to us, me, Rod and Malcolm. That was Glenn Skillington, Naz Bashir, who you know from Fab Academy,
Absolutely,
and Adam Wardle. These 3 guys came in, and I was at the first meeting, and immediately I struck up a great relationship with Adam, Glenn and Naz. I know Naz before that. These were football men. Had a vision, structure like mine. I thought, God, this is brilliant. So, but on the condition was that Rod and Malcolm had to step away.
Okay.
So you're telling someone that's been at the club 51 years, Malcolm, and also I won't move that shit. And Malcolm been at the club 51 and would have been there about 35 maybe years. And it happened. They come on board. Rod and Malcolm stepped away, and the club then started to grow how I wanted it to grow, but I wasn't. Glenn came in as chairman. I stayed as match day secretary, and generally advisory to what had gone on before and how the club was running. And it was great because then everything that I sort of wanted to see happen could happen and will happen because we did get a 3G pitch.
Well, obviously,
so
now we've got a 3D pitch and had it there.
So from 2018 it was great because then we started to put together a side, and where the main thing was Burnham Football Club isn't just a case of having a brown envelope at the end of a playing week. It's about wanting to play football, putting that shirt on. It's been there since 1878, getting out there, playing football, and not thinking what you're getting in the bar afterwards.
Yeah.
Right? So we were trying to get managers in and build a team that players wanted to play again, wanted to play football and not just saying, well, how much you pay me?
So,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because you get paid for what you do. If you're good at it, whatever you do, you need to be
well, at level of football, people are getting paid, so, you know, it is what it is, basically.
and they then put that together, put the structure, and it just went from strength to strength. And we've been relegated to step 6. We smashed step 6, and we had a really good side. And Shoney was the manager, and we actually got through 4. We were one off the first qualifying round, so we got knocked out by Billy Ricky. Went through 3 rounds.
Yeah, I remember chatting
We had a
about
great stack up.
Yeah.
You know.
This is just pre-COVID.
We're the highest ranked side, lowest ranked side in that competition at the time. Step 6.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you chatting
I
about
was
it.
bouncing, I was.
Yeah, well,
Obviously, I was seeing all these things that I couldn't deliver, but now these guys are coming the same and could deliver along with, and I could see that.
Yeah. Obviously, you got your 3G pitch and such.
Yeah, a 3G pitch come on because Glenn always wanted that, and because it was there, you know, get a pitch out there for the community, get a pitch out there. If, you know, we want people to come and, you know, again, as I said with the East Berkshire League, Burnham Football Club, a place for people to come and enjoy the football. Safe environment in a ground, out there for the community, get kids to come and enjoy themselves. There's nothing better than seeing smiles on faces on a football pitch.
Yeah.
Nothing better.
I mean, it's a great place.
Yeah.
It is a great place. So, they've all come in, things are going good again. COVID hit and, you know, it was what it was and horrible, basically. But
it's hard.
You guys got through that and moved on. And during COVID, how did your role change within Burnham? Or what did it change?
Well, I was always there as match day secretary. I looked after the first team under 18s and welfare officer as well. And was always there doing that sort of thing, and during the COVID time and after that. And obviously we've got the 3G pitch. We've had some great managers in the time that Glenn and Adam's been there. We've, you know, the whole thing. I've got Shoney and Ash was there. We've had some great people. Manny as well. Great manager. I've gotten well with all of them. They're fantastic guys. And obviously Ben's there now. Great manager again. Moulding a really good side because I think they're joint up at the moment.
Yeah.
Moulding a really good side together, and it's really taken off. But it's all about getting the young players out there. So if young players are improving and they want a chance, then Burnham Football Club gives them that chance. Give them a platform.
Yeah.
You've got a pathway between young players in the community to come through.
So obviously you've got Nationalist Football Academy and such like that now can take that path through and such like from there onwards, and obviously now they've got the football club that takes them forward. One of the things which I want to ask you very quickly is for many years now there's been Burnham Juniors as such, playing a very similar kit and such like, but they've never really been a part of the football club.
Well, we've tried. It's not for the Burnham Football Club trying to get Burnham Juniors. We've had various meetings. We let them use the pitch. We've done that as well. The current Burnham under 18 team is run by the 3 lads from Burnham Juniors.
Yeah.
So that's the pathway.
Okay.
From the under 18.
So there's more of a link now.
Yeah, we've now got an under 16 team and an under 13 team that play there, which has been organised by NAS. So, and I think one of them came from they were in the Wickham League last year, and they come over to us and we've called them Burnham under 16s and Burnham under 13s. There's still a pathway there for Burnham Juniors, and there's still conversations between the club and Burnham Juniors. That's not dead in the water.
Good.
But there needs to be a link there, because yes, they play in the same kit, got the same colours, and
it just seems like
their name's still at the ground. It still says Burnham Juniors underneath Burnham Football Club.
Exactly.
So no, there'll always be a link there. It's a case of getting it on the right footing, and that's for now what I class as the hierarchy to sort that out with their hierarchy. Because I step back and I just done a lot of the match day stuff and etc.
Well, now let's not put too fine a point on that, because when you say match day stuff, you were literally sitting on the tractor sweeping the pitch with it.
Yeah, when we got the 3G pitch, I started brushing the pitch. I had some great time. I can tell you what, there's nothing better than getting on that tractor. With no one on the ground, just myself in the ground on the tractor.
Did not feel like Forrest Gump going up that pitch?
It was great because I was in my own little world.
Yeah.
Up and down, and it's actually quite therapeutic.
Oh, right, okay.
In a sense. And I like brushing it and stuff, and then So yeah, it's been. I've had a great time. Had some great times there, and as I said, the club is moving forward. And I tell my hat off to Glenn and Naz for what they're trying to do there. And obviously, you've got the social media with Paul Butler's come on board now with the website, the Instagram, the TikTok. The whole social media presence now of Burnham Football Club has accelerated in the last year. Paul's done a fantastic job.
Good.
And I look at it now and think, Christ, I just wish these guys like Naz, Paul, Adam, Michelle, they were all there years ago.
Yeah.
It would have made my life a lot easier.
So obviously, you've just mentioned it now. They're now the hierarchy, as you put it, and you step completely back. Or
Yeah, I have. Well, basically, another story is that as you in February, I was diagnosed with skin cancer,
Yes.
melanoma. Bit of a shock. That was where was it? What it was again? My wife. I had an itchy back, and I said, "Can you scratch your back?" And there was a mole on my back, and it had a little red ring around it. So she said, "To get it checked out." So okay. So at that time, you couldn't have a one-to-one with your doctor.
No.
So he phoned me, he said, "Can you send your photograph?" Well, I took the photograph, sent it. Don't look at that, come see me. So I went to see him, literally 15 minutes later.
Oh wow.
I'm going to refer you to a dermatologist at Princess Margaret, a guy called Mr. Palmer, lovely guy, Roy Palmer. He said, "I'm not sure." He goes, "But I'm going to take it off and have a look and send it away." So I had to wait 10 days. He took it off, sent it away. Come back as melanoma, stage 1C, or B, stage 1B, sorry. The pathologist recommends that you go up to London to see this cancer specialist and see. We are advising a little bit more taking. I had a 3-inch scar on my back.
Yeah.
And the red ring around it was my immune system that attacked it, and he regressed it.
Oh wow.
But it had to come off.
Yeah.
So I had to go for a sentinel node biopsy, SNB, and also they call it a wide excision. Went up to London again with the wife, and we went up there and I checked in. Had to go into this radioactive place where they pump full injection of radiation into your back, and they see where it goes.
Yeah.
You have lymph nodes in your
That's
head,
right. Yeah.
groin, etc. They're everywhere. You've got loads. If the dye they inject in with a radioactive goes to the lymph node, then that is where the cancer will go.
Right.
So it went to my right armpit. So I was straight to surgery, had the node taken out, and I had another 1.5 inches taken off my back.
Oh my God.
So it became a bigger scar. I waited about 9 days. Again, my mindset's really strong.
This is this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had it taken off in March. I then got results in April, it's end of March, April. It was negative on the lymph node, negative on the extra skin, so I remained at stage 1. I've been downgraded to stage 1A.
Okay.
And I have skin checks every 3 or 4 months. Had a skin check in August. I had a new mole appeared on my ear. So that was taken off, no, July, that was taken off, that was negative.
Right.
But it was a new mole, so they took it off straight away. So I'm under, my next skin check is December.
Right.
Again, it's all about how you deal with it. Like, it wasn't linked to my prostate. This make it so the prostate
Two
cancer.
different things, yeah.
Just unlucky. Is it because I'm 63 in Jan? When I was 10, 11 years old, we were one of the few families that went to Spain a lot. We were lucky. My dad was, my mum got us to Spain. The whole family went to Spain, nans and granddads, running around with no cream on. Could it be? I don't know. Is that a contributing factor? They
So
say.
you don't know. I mean, to be quite honest, obviously, we're better educated now on these sort of things.
They say that the consultant said to me, they're seeing more and more people in their 50 age bracket with melanoma in this country than ever,
Oh, really?
from 50 upwards.
Okay. Well.
So, it gives you a bit of a purpose, and it also gives you a bit of kicking up the backside to make sure, even though I'm a positive guy,
Yeah.
I'm a very positive guy, very strong-minded, and even though it was scary, you get on with it.
Yeah.
And again, that's the reason this second one was why I decided in June to step back from the club. Still sort of advising and doing a lot of stuff in the background for whole game system full time, but I haven't been to a Burnley game this season. I miss it dreadfully.
Wow.
But it also given me some time to do some things with my wife, what we have been doing. We recently went to Canada for 17 days for the 60th. Toured east to west, fantastic experience. But
I was just about to say, and Gary's still in touch with everyone on football.
yeah,
You're answering all the emails and
it's also given me the East Berkshire League was there well before Burnham. So I do the East Berkshire, and I continue to do my best for the East Berkshire League. Also, I work for the County FA, another hat.
Yeah.
Being a council member, and I'm a safeguarding monitor for the County FA. I'm one of 6 people that go out to games. Albeit it could be I was at a game last week at Binfield. I took the Binfield under 13 game in for some inappropriate language had been spoken about by parents or coaches at a previous game. I went there incognito, even though it's hard to do that when you know a few people.
Yeah.
To monitor a game to see whether to walk around mingling with parents of Binfield and Bracknell and ask a few questions and just, they probably think who's this guy, but I knew a few people there anyway. So I do that on behalf of the County FA. And I've been doing that for 4 years, so I monitor games. And I also sit on discipline hearings for the County FA. I'm a wingman and I sit on hearings. I've got one next week. And I enjoy that. I've got my qualification to sit on these commissions through the FA. And I enjoy that as well. So, yes, my football involvement is very strong.
Yeah, which then brings me on to the next part of it. So obviously you've had your illnesses and such like over the last few years, and in credit to yourself, you've gone out and started with prostate cancer initially. You've done fundraising.
Yeah.
So what have you done there? Just explain to everyone. 2018,
what I did was, because I'm a massive Celtic fan, as you probably know from the
Yeah.
part one, I decided to, I went to watch Celtic play Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Champions League,
Okay.
and I met a bunch of lads from Ramsgate, and I started talking about trying to bring together the London-based fans, and I said, look, I've got an idea. I'm going to have a 6-a-side tournament at my club, and I'm going to bring together all the sports clubs that are within 50 miles of the club.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. 2018, the first one, I brought together 10 teams from Wimbledon, Hayes, Ealing, Harrow, Maidenhead, Reading, Swindon, to come to Burnham and play in a 6-a-side tournament. I organised that all on my own, and I raised £2,000
Wow.
for charity,
Brilliant.
for prostate cancer and breast cancer. And
Wildcats a very good day as well.
yeah, I managed to get Celtic Football Club to come down with the foundation and present the trophy.
Yeah.
I then done it again in 2019, and I brought 11 teams together.
Which I think one of our players used to play now, Chris Teeney.
I know Chris Turney, and he
Yeah.
played for Hayes, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember right, he played for Hayes.
Yeah.
And I did it in 2019 again, and brought this in, and I raised another couple of £1,000 for prostate cancer. It was then, COVID came in 20, I was approached by the Jimmy Johnston Academy, because my tournament was called the Jimmy Johnston Charitable Trophy.
Uh-huh.
4 Celtic supporter clubs, and the Jimmy Johnston Academy came down to Windsor, took me out for a meal. Jim,
Oh, wow.
who runs the academy there, and also hired the guy Paul John Dykes, who runs the podcast, the Celtic State of Mind, which I've appeared on.
Oh wow. Oh, okay.
They came down to Windsor and met me, and we talked Celtic for 2 hours, and how I used the name of Jimmy Johnston in my 2 fundraising tournaments. They would like to get involved because I think, in a way, they wanted to see what I was about.
Yeah.
Because I never asked permission to use the Jimmy Johnston name. I didn't know you had to.
Oh, okay.
So,
Right.
I think there's a case of seeing what I was, what sort of guy I was.
Yeah.
I wanted to, because obviously his wife Agnes, because Jimmy passed away from Motor on Your Own.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the other charities I played for, was Motor on Your Own. Because 18 was breast cancer, prostate cancer, and Motor on Your Own.
Yeah.
Because Jimmy passed away from Motor on Your Own. And that Motor on Your Own now has hit quite a few footballers.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
It's a disease, it's an awful disease.
Yeah.
We had a lovely meeting, and a meal. Great to talk football and talk how it came about, the tournament. They would like to get involved. Agnes would love to meet me.
Oh, wow.
So it transpired. COVID got paid to 20 and 21.
Yeah.
21 was nearly taking place, but the restrictions.
Yeah, July then.
I went out for a game, which I went up to a Celtic game, and I was in a number 7 restaurant, all arranged, and I met Agnes.
Okay.
I met Agnes and a few Celtic players, and Jimmy Johnson Academy. The gym was fantastic. He took me all around the Jimmy Johnson Academy and all the Jimmy Johnson memorabilia. But I met, the most important was to meet Agnes.
Yeah.
I told her all about it, and it transpired from there. And the Jimmy Johnson were totally on board, so I used their logo. Obviously, I'm wearing their shirt.
Wearing a shirt there today, yeah.
And God bless them, they came in on board, and so the 2022 tournament was also now with the logo of Jimmy Johnson Academy. So it was completely now officially sanctioned, and I had 12 teams.
I think you have to just clear one thing up very quickly here. I mean, a lot of people know it's Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson was a guy that played in the early 60s and 70s. He was a member of the European Cup that Celtic won in 67.
Who we call obviously Lisbon Lions.
Lisbon Lions, and Jimmy was, or Jinky was his name.
Yeah.
My idol was a player. And Jinky was a 5'3", 5'4", ginger-haired right winger. I suppose you could call him the Scottish equivalent of George Best.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
At the same era, and George Best and Jinky were good mates.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Very good mates.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That would have been a bit of a disaster to
and
go out.
Jimmy was the in and out, Jinky little, and what a player. I mean, obviously, some of the people that watch this podcast never heard of him. What I ask you to do is just go and just YouTube Jimmy Johnston and look at what he'd done.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find any footage and leave a link in there.
The guy was a fantastic footballer, and I was chuffed that my tournament had been running for 2018-19 was now officially under that banner of the Jimmy Johnson Academy.
Amazing.
And the Jimmy Johnson Trust, which Agnes had said to me that she's so pleased that I was doing this. I spoke to her daughter, and it just the Celtic family is a massive family. When you're a Celtic fan, we call it the Celtic family because it's a fantastic institution. And this year, Agnes came down with Jim.
Wow.
And Agnes presented the trophy, and she spent 5-6 hours at the club, sitting with every team, having photographs, talking, done a speech in the bar afterwards.
How old is she now? She's got
I wouldn't like to say, but
not that you should reveal yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But Agnes was a lovely lady, and we talked Jimmy, Jinky, and she said a couple of stories, and what I loved about Agnes was she spent so much time. She sat with the Hayes lads, the Reading lads, the Swindon, the lads from obviously Ramsgate, the lads from Wimbledon. There was all these groups of people. She spent time talking,
amazing,
talking Celtic, talking Jinky. What a woman!
Fantastic.
And that was all put together by Jim. You know, and
so Jimmy's there.
He's a director of the Jimmy Johnson Trust,
right.
and we've been in contact ever since 2020 when I met him in Windsor, and also Paul Dykes, who does the podcast, the Celtic State of Mind.
Yeah.
He's been very influential, and he invited me on a podcast. I did nearly an hour on a podcast talking about Celtic and stuff, and how I started to be a Celtic fan, and he's very supportive in what I do there as well. And also Prostrate Cancer, who I'm in conversations and emails with, and they in fact interviewed me last week and wanted to know my story. So I
You've become a bit of a media man now.
35-minute interview with Prostrate Cancer last week, only because I do the Jeff Stedding walks as well.
Yeah, that's another thing you raise money for.
So I raised money, which is a bit mad really, because I did my June tournament and I raised, I think it's £2,300 for all the three charities. And then in September I did the March for Men, which was, we started at AFC Wimbledon. We then walked to Brentford, QPR, Fulham, Millwall.
Wow.
28.1 miles I walked. I raised £440 on top of what I'd already arranged a few months before. It's very hard. I found I struggled a bit because you're asking the same people to donate.
For their money again, yeah.
And I was a bit cheeky really, but I did it. My target was 350, I got 440. And I've done three of those. I did one in 19, done one in 21, 22. So I've done the two under the banner of Jeff Stedding.
Yeah.
Which was last year's and 19. And this year was called the Football March.
Yeah.
Under Prostrate Cancer. It's still under Prostrate Cancer. And you got 125 of us walking around London to stadiums. People are coming out of bars, clapping. People are bibbing their horns. We went down the embankment, all the people having their Sunday lunch, come out and they're applauding.
Wow.
It's a fantastic feeling.
Good feeling, yeah.
But then also what you're doing is the main reason you're doing it is to spread awareness of prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Because it affects us all. Get that out there. So when you've got a prostate cancer t-shirt on and you're walking with 125 people will see that.
Yeah.
And then social media goes and goes. And so that is spreading awareness. What I did this time was, my aim was to walk to all four grounds with a supporters club shirt. So I did, the first one I walked with the Hayes shirt on to Brentford. Then I did the QPR one with the Hayes Ramsgate. Then I did the Jimmy Johnson Academy one. Then the final one to Millwall, I wore the Reading, which is my home one.
Yeah.
The Reading Martin O'Neill Supporters Club. So I wore this, and I took a photograph for each time I got to club and went out on their social media.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that was what I wanted to do. I'll do next year's one.
I was just going to ask you, what's your plans now? So what you've raised probably close to £10,000, I imagine.
I've been getting £10,000 in 6 years, 5 years, whatever.
That's amazing.
There may be other ones that I've done, other little ones that I've done, like
that's all.
but there are some little ones I've done where I've done 5,000 steps in 1 month or something during COVID times now.
Yeah.
Little ones.
Okay.
But the main ones is roughly about £10,000.
So what now are you going to do charity-wise?
I've got an idea now. I'm going to try and do the tournament again next year. Hopefully, I'll start looking at that around about Christmas time. So I'm going to try and organise a working party because I do a lot myself, all of myself.
Always wait.
I'm going to do a working party this year for next year's tournament. I've already singled out a few people for the Jimmy Johnson tournament. One of my other plans is I'm looking at organising my own football march.
Okay.
So this might be one out for people out there.
Yeah.
And so watch this space. I'll give you a little bit of an inkling what I want to do. I was looking at maybe starting a march from Marlow FC to Beaconsfield FC.
Okay. Not along the motorway, I hope.
Right, all around that way.
Yeah.
To Slough Town.
Okay.
To Maidenhead.
Right.
End up at Burnham. I'm going to, over the next few weeks, I'm going to look at what the mileage is going all the back way. If that gets to about 26 miles, if I can, then I may look at doing something. My own Gary Reeves, prostate cancer, football march in this area.
Fantastic.
That's what my plan is. So watch this space.
Let's all watch this space and see if we can use.
And hopefully I might get a few ex-footballers, local footballers, clubs like yourself, Hill Stoke Poses that want to come and support that.
Well, I'll be honest with you, if you're going to do that, I'll definitely support you on that one.
I've been in touch with prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And I've told them what I want to do. And that's when they interviewed me last week, I said that's on my list to do, is to do a football march in this area.
Fantastic.
You know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, good luck with that, and keep us in touch with it, and we'll keep you in touch with it
Yeah.
if we hear any more about that.
So, Christ, that's I don't think I've got any more, have I?
No, in fairness, Gary, I was just going to come to an end on that because they're all positive news. Obviously, recovering right now, that's all going well. I just really want to say thank you for coming along.
Yeah.
I know people, when they watch this, there'll be a lot they resonate with, and I know what you've gone through in the last few years, but also enjoy your past history.
Yeah, my past. I hope I haven't bored anyone.
I found it really interesting.
It's been a privilege for me to come on and tell my story.
Yeah.
And I thank you so much for the invite.
No,
It's been a pleasure and being shown around your setup here. I haven't been here for many years. So I really, really do thank you, bottom of my heart, for the
thank you, Gary. Thank you very much for turning up today. And
thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for watching this podcast. If you'd like to like and subscribe, we much appreciate it. It helps us. Any comments on this or any ideas? I'm sure Gary will probably take on board for any future fundraising events. But once again, guys, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing this one coming out. And see you soon. Take care.